guys, so my name's Alexis. I am back with another interview and another treat because today I have Kelly Surtees with us today. Kelly, can you say hi to us?
Hey everyone.
So, Kelly is going to do a really cool workshop called Power Periods, Fixed Stars, and Progressions. And this workshop is going to be on September 14th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now, Kelly, before you talk about, your workshop, tell us about yourself. Like, what is something you can tell about all of us? What is your astrological background?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. I have been studying astrology since I was about 11 years old. And in my early 20s, I started seeing clients and even teaching small groups astrology. So I've been really lucky, I guess, to make astrology my life's work. And I am Australian, but I live in Europe right now, and I'm often traveling in Canada and the US and Australia teaching. So, oh gosh, I never know what to say with those types of questions.
I mean, it's all good. I mean, it's like whenever no one asks you the question, you're just like, oh yeah, I can write a whole book about me right now. And then like whenever you get asked the question, you're like, my favorite color is blue. So it's like
Yes,
so it's like it's
yes.
like that. But hey, I mean that's something. And then your workshop is about fixed stars and progressions. Now, personally, in my use of astrology, I've only studied astrology for 4 years. I have never
Okay.
touched fixed stars and I haven't touched progressions, but I've touched everything but those. So
Okay.
tell us about your workshop. Why fixed stars and progressions? Why put the two together?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it is definitely going to be more of an intermediate level workshop because we are combining two things that you wouldn't necessarily be using if you were more of a beginner. Secondary progressions is one of my favorite predictive or timing tools where we're getting some insight out of the birth chart using this very weird symbolic timing technique that is based on a day for a year system. So essentially in secondary progressions, we're looking at where the planets were when you were, say, 32 days old, and we're giving them some meaning when you're 32 years old. So we'll need to run through the basics of secondary progressions and how they work. So I'll be doing that in the workshop in September. But then to really add like the most power to your secondary progressions is to have a look and track how your progressed planets are interacting with the fixed stars. Now, the fixed stars are different. The word planet, if you like, actually means wandering star. So there's a distinction there between the wanderers, which are the planets that we all use in astrology, like Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, versus the fixed stars, which to the naked eye and over the course of an average lifespan are really not moving much at all. So the fixed stars do move a tiny little bit, but they create their own power. They're different from the planets. The planets reflect the light, if you like, of the sun, whereas a fixed star is a self-generating entity. So there's many fixed stars, way more than planets. They all have mythology and meaning connected to them. And even if you don't have some of these fixed stars, some are about power, some are about success, some are about brilliance, some are about more difficult experiences too. But it's quite likely that at some point over the course of your lifetime, your progressed planets are going to pick up the energy of different fixed stars. So it's going to be quite a comprehensive workshop where we go through the basics of fixed stars, the basics of secondary progressions, and we look at some examples of putting the two together. So it'll be a really rich, meaningful, and insightful timing technique workshop for people.
Hmm. How have you seen fixed stars with like other techniques, like maybe like profections or like transits, and how does it compare to like progressions from what you've seen?
Yeah, so secondary progressions are really unique in that they describe things that are just happening in your chart for you at any given time. So they're incredibly personal and they can be very specific. So the energy, for example, of a fixed star will be activating one particular degree in the zodiac. So if I use the fixed star formal halt, if you like, which is around 3-4 degrees of Pisces, you'd have to have a progressed planet like right at that degree to really get that energy of formal halt. So transits to fixed stars are less personal and more collective. When Jupiter was in Libra a few years ago, it went over one of the really brilliant fixed stars of Spica around 23-24 degrees of Libra. And that was an energy that we all got to experience, but perhaps in a less personal or individual type of way. With annual perfections, because we're really focusing on the house themes with that technique, there's a little bit less that you would do with the fixed stars there. So secondary progressions kind of fits nicely in that it's really personal and unique to you. You know, you might be having a progressed planet conjunct, say, Regulus at 0 Virgo, which is going to bring success or fame your way, and somebody else might be having a fixed, a progressed planet conjunct a fixed star like Algol or Shiat, which are a little bit more difficult, and they might be going through a bit more of a challenging few months. So the unique thing that progressions and fixed stars do together is they give us a lot more detail, a lot more depth, a lot more mythology about things that you personally might be going through.
So it's more personal, and from what I've heard, it's more like degree focused. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Last question about your workshop is this.
No, go for it. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's planets, and then there's fixed stars, and then there's asteroids. What would you say is the difference between asteroids and fixed stars?
Well, asteroids are, they don't have the power that fixed stars do, in the same way that planets don't have the power that fixed stars do. Asteroids tend to be, but aren't always, smaller than planets as well. And because we have so many of the asteroids, you know, particularly through the asteroid belt and things like that, they're kind of like smaller slices of things without having the impact or the power. The fixed stars are so much more powerful than anything else we have in our solar system, that they are so obvious, if you like, when they show up in people's lives when they're activated by a progressed planet.
Thank you. That's a really good answer, because I was sitting in my mind, okay, so like celestial objects, we got planets, and then we got fixed stars and asteroids. I'm like, where do we put all of them together? So
no, that's a great question. Yeah, there's an ancient or medieval diagram of the sky, and the fixed stars are in one of the outer layers, further out than the planets. And the theory or the thinking is that the fixed stars are closer to the god or the divine force. So the fixed stars have a little bit more of that pure divine intelligence in them, even than the planets.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So my next question is, why would anyone ever go to an astrology conference, let alone ISAR 2020?
Oh my gosh. Well, there's so many reasons. I have tongue-in-cheek answers and serious answers. I mean, going to an astrology conference will show you that you're not alone. I remember going to my first huge astrology conference, which was UAC in 2008, and there was about 1,000 astrologers there. This was also in Denver. I guess 12 years ago now. And I remember just being so comforted and excited by the amount of astrologers that there were in the world, that there were so many other people like me interested in this kind of weird mystical thing, and they all seemed relatively quote unquote kind of normal and functional people. And so there's a real, for me, it was a really heartwarming in terms of that feeling of belonging through that connection of community. And there was something that was kind of, I'm not sure what the right word is, but it was like affirming. You know, there are other people like you doing this, so keep going, if you like. So there's the community and the connection piece and the belonging component, but the learning as well. I mean, you don't even know what you don't know. And when you get to an astrology conference, you have this wonderful melting pot. It's like the ancient cities on the Spice Road, you know, where you get the interaction of different ideas and different people and different techniques, and you can just, you can soak it in, but it will also accelerate and inspire you with your own studies.
So what's different about ISAR? And you know, it's funny that you say that your first conference was UAC, because UAC was also my first conference, but in 2018. So I was I was like, oh, we both got the big conference, like boom, into our faces. But what's different about ISAR? Because I haven't personally gone to ISAR yet.
Okay. Yeah, so the ISAR conferences are lovely in that they're like a mid-range conference. They're not the biggest like UAC, but they're certainly not the smallest, you know, types of conferences that we have either. So they have that lovely mid-range of being able to create a space for connection, but having enough variety. One thing I personally enjoyed about an ISAR conference I attended Now I'm stretching my brain. I don't know if it was 2014 or 2016, but it was down in Southern California. And I signed up to take the ethics training and the consulting skills training, which was like a pre-conference thing. And those two trainings, even though I was already working as a full-time astrologer and had been for many years, those two trainings were really eye-opening. The ethics component, just looking at the different ethical pieces that we need to be mindful of. Some of those things I was already very aware of, but I really appreciated the diligence and the richness and the level of depth that that material was presented. And then the consulting skills that ISAR offers. I think all new astrologers or wannabe consulting astrologers, especially if you don't already have a coaching or a counseling background, it's great to do some of those consulting skills training to get a sense of what it's actually like to sit with a person and talk about astrology. Because to be a good consulting astrologer, you need to have more skills than just knowing astrology. So that communication and interaction, the client practice, those things are so critical. So there's some of the things that I've really enjoyed about ISAR conferences in the past.
Those, like, that ethics training and course, like, those look so interesting. Like, personally, I mean, I personally love to just read about ethics. I don't know. I just love reading rules.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's you kind of need to know what the rules are, and what kind of rules are important to the community that you are, looking to join or that you do belong to.
And as far as I know, I think ISAR might be the only organization that has like a pretty like structured like ethics guidelines. If not, like, I would love to like read more because I love reading rules. Like, Venus is conjunct Saturn. But
yeah. I mean, I know the Australian organisation, the Federation of Australian Astrologers, does have an ethics component as well. But yeah, it would be good to look into because there are astrology organisations sort of all around the world, and it is an important piece for all of us.
Oh, I'll be sure to look. So basically, that is the interview. You have any final words or anything you want to say before it's a wrap?
I think I'm really looking forward to ISAR this September in Denver, and I hope everyone can join us at the conference. But, if you are interested in my workshop, I look forward to seeing you on September 14.
Okay, so that is pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching this interview. We will see you guys at ISAR.